My name is Courtney Anderson, and I am a fifth grade teacher at Langsburg Elementary School in Michigan. This will be my 7th year teaching, and in my time at Langsburg, I have taught both 4th and 5th grade. Today's presentation is going to focus on the different components of reading and different strategies and resources that can be used to support each component within reading. So let's get started. To begin, let's review the 5 different components of literacy. They are phonemic awareness, phonics, spelling, vocabulary, fluency, and comprehension. While those components are commonly used in reading, they have a direct connection to writing. Reading and writing have a reciprocal relationship. In fact, research has proven that a growth in reading will have a positive impact on writing, while a growth in writing will have a positive impact on reading. For example, if a student is exposed to well-written text, they'll experience more language and vocabulary, and then they'll be more likely to apply that to their own writing. Or if a student has an opportunity to write about the things they're reading, they'll comprehend the text more easily and also be able to retain the information for longer periods of time. Now let's review each component of literacy and different strategies or resources that can be used to support each component. We'll begin with phonemic awareness. Phonemic awareness is the ability to understand language at the spoken level. In other words, it's the understanding that speech is made up of sounds that can be combined to form words. For example, if you have the word met, it is composed of 3 phonemes, met. One resource that can be used to support students' phonemic awareness is the Michael Haggerty program. This program is filled with different word work strategies that build and help support a student's phonemic awareness. For example, one strategy that's built within the program is chopping words. So for example, if we have the word cat, the teacher would chop the word as k, a, t. The students have to hear the sounds, combine those to form the word cat. Another activity that's built within the program is giving the students a word. They have to identify the vowel sound and then identify if it's a short or a long vowel. Or another activity is sometimes giving the students a word, like the word bat, telling them to drop a sound like b and adding a new sound k to form the word cat. So it's filled with lots of different strategies and activities for building a student's phonemic awareness. Not only can the strategies taught in Haggerty be used to read words, but they can also be used and applied in writing. So a student could use, say, the chopping strategy in their writing practice. For example, maybe they want to spell the word bat. They could use the chopping strategy, b, a, t, to hear all of the sounds in order to properly spell those words during writing. The next component we're going to discuss is phonics. Phonics refers to the relationship between sounds and letters, or sometimes even letter combinations. Phonics involves using the relationship between letters and their sounds in order to read and write. For example, let's say you have the word rain. Rain contains the vowel combination AI. A student must have knowledge and understanding that AI makes the long A sound in order to properly read that word and write it. A couple of resources that could be used to support a student's understanding in phonics are a couple of programs, Phonics for Reading and Rewards by Anita Archer. Both programs teach students how to properly chunk words. So let me show you a couple of examples. The program teaches students how to chunk words by identifying vowel sounds first. So in this word, they'd identify the vowel, underline it, practice its sound, and look at the remaining sounds to combine them to s, a, t, sat. For students that may be working on longer words, such as multi-syllabic words, they learn to chunk words by first identifying prefixes and suffixes and circling those. So they'd find the prefix, then they'd find the suffix. They would then underline remaining vowels, and they'd know that this is how you would chunk the word. The prefix gets its own chunk, and all of the vowels get their own chunk as well. So then it makes reading a multisyllabic word much easier by breaking it into parts. Communication. Communication. The next component we're going to discuss is fluency. Fluency is the ability to read with appropriate speed, accuracy, and expression. A strategy that can be used to build a student's fluency is reader's theater. Reader's theater requires lots and lots of practice with repeated readings. These repeated readings will build a student's accuracy and speed. Not only that, but reader's theater is meant to be presented to an audience. And when presented to the audience, they're supposed to entertain that crowd. And one way to entertain the crowd is to read with expression. So reader's theater will also encourage readers to read with expression. The next component we're going to discuss is vocabulary. Vocabulary involves learning the meaning of new words. Students must gain meaning of the words that they're reading in order to comprehend what it is that they're reading. A strategy that can be used to support vocabulary is a word wall. Teachers can identify academic words that they'll see within the content or maybe even the stories that week. They can introduce the word's meaning, display the word on a word wall, and this will help students become comfortable when they come across that word or words when reading. Teachers should also encourage students to use those words in their writing and their speaking. The last and final component that we'll discuss is comprehension. Comprehension is the basis of reading. It allows readers to understand what they're reading. When a student understands what they're reading, they can do things like make predictions, inferences, visualizations, summaries, and so much more. A strategy that can be used to support comprehension are book clubs. Book clubs will involve assigning different designated jobs to students to help understand the piece of text on a much deeper level. Some of the jobs may include a summarizer that has to summarize the main idea or events. Maybe even an illustrator that really has to visualize what they just read. Another job might be a word wizard that explores new vocabulary words, or maybe even a discussion director that has to ask the group some higher order questions to really get them thinking on a much deeper level. While all of these strategies are helpful in supporting the different components of literacy, it's still important that teachers assess their students' progress to determine their next steps, which may include small group intervention, maybe some reteaching, or even some enrichment opportunities. One formal way of tracking a student's progress is through the use of running record assessments. These assessments will help identify problem areas such as fluency, accuracy, comprehension, or maybe even a certain phonics skill. While these are time-consuming, eventually a teacher could just perform these running records bi-weekly with his or her struggling readers. Another way to track a student's progress is much more informal, but is through the use of turn and talk or maybe even exit tickets. These are quick, immediate ways for a teacher to gather information on whether his or her students understood the content that was taught, so that the teacher can determine what their next steps are. Another opportunity that teachers may want to consider are online resources. While there are many, one that I would suggest is called Read Naturally. Read Naturally is a literacy intervention meant for supporting struggling readers in all different components of literacy. They begin by taking a placement test that places them at their appropriate level. They then progress through different activities that include cold reads, repeated reading, vocabulary practice, a comprehension quiz, retelling, and then hot reads. And finally, a teacher can always consult the reading specialist that will help support the teacher, which will help support the students. A reading specialist might do things like assist in progress monitoring to help identify areas of deficit. They might provide additional strategies or resources. They may even be willing to co-teach or model in a new practice that's being implemented in the classroom. They could provide interventions for struggling readers and writers, or even enrichment opportunities for advanced readers and writers. All right, I hope you found this video helpful in reviewing the components of literacy, and are walking away with some different ideas, strategies, and resources for supporting each one of those components.